I'm Claudio La Sala. Of course, you know from my accent that I'm not from around here. I'm originally from Brazil. That's why I'm going to butcher the English language once in a while. And that's all good. It's part of the show, right? On the internets, I have this 3-lap rider YouTube and Instagram channel where I keep track of my progress, essentially. My track videos, my pictures, and little videos that I do some voiceover to talk about the experiences that I've had, difficulties and things like that. I post it all to those channels, again, as a way for me to track my progress over time. I always say I'm mostly a beginner, and I'm gonna stay a beginner for a long time because I try to work on my fundamentals. I'm not in a hurry to become a racer or anything like that. It's not my primary goal, at least hasn't been, and it's not gonna be in the foreseeable future. I'm still too young at this thing. I've been riding bikes since 1990, so 28 years on the street, which is a good and a bad thing. I'm going to talk about that today. Why riding street bikes for so long may not be actually a good thing when you go to the track. And I'll talk about that based on my experience. Sport bikes since late 2016, that's when I started. My first track day, February 2017. Ever since I did 16 track days, so the thing is addictive. It's crazy. Give me more. Right? Out of those 16, I did 11 in level 1 and 5 in level 2. So that just gives you an idea. Don't take the things that I say for granted. And I'll tell you what these meetings are all about. And it's not about me teaching you to ride faster. I'll never give you, or at least until I become a pro, I'm not going to tell you this is how you go fast. That's not the purpose of these meetings. I'm not going to be here teaching you riding techniques or anything like that. I'm still a beginner on this thing. I'm not going to do what RideSmart does best, right? We have Quan who's been here supporting us, who's one of the instructors with RideSmart. So anything you need as far as techniques and knowing how to go fast and whatever, you ask that man. Or you go to a track day and then work there at the track, and that's what we are here for, to increase your experience and your preparation when you go out to the track and you're ready to actually do the thing that's pretty awesome. What we're going to be doing, how do we get ready for track days? How do we, what are the tips that we can use to learn better, to improve our riding and our experience? How do we learn on and off track? Because just grabbing your bike, going to the track, riding around and coming back home, yeah, there is some level of satisfaction in doing that, but you probably want to improve, right? You want to go to the track and actually see your body position getting better, your lap times getting better, you feeling safer as you ride at the track, which is going to make you ride safer on the street, which is very important, and just enhancing our track day experience altogether. Agenda for tonight, we're not going to do an intro to track days, because we've done that in our first meeting in January. In my channel, I've created a playlist Beyond the Track. So I've been recording all these videos. I do a little bit of editing just to get rid of the fat, and then I post it up there. So you can catch up with, the first meeting was a whole introduction to what track days are, how they work, what kind of preparation you have to keep in mind as a beginner, as a first timer. I mean, even if you've been riding bikes, at the track with other organizations, you sort of need to know, how does that work with RideSmart, just so that you can make sure that you're ready to go there and, make the most out of it. On that first meetup, again, preparations, do's and don'ts, what to focus on, how to have a great time on your very first track day. And we've covered a lot of that, but there's more. We're in the third meeting, and I keep remembering things that I actually did for my very first track day that I didn't mention before. So as I remember those things, as I go through my notes, I'll always be coming back to this because there are always going to be people coming here joining us who are going to be getting ready for their first track day ever. I'm going to be talking, for some tips for non-first timers, the rituals for track days, the things to learn. One thing that I saved for tonight as far as tips for first timers, and the thing that I just hinted at the very beginning, was that previous experience on a bike does not equal great track riding skills. and I'll tell you about my experience. Yuri, are you gonna be able to talk? Would you like to talk a little bit about that? Because Yuri just did his very first track day this weekend at MSRH. Pretty awesome. It was great seeing him here because he was here at our first meeting in January with a lot of questions as far as, okay, how do we do? How do we prepare? How do we prepare the bike? How do those things work? Right? So lots of goodies. And then at the track, we were, chatting about this and that, and then it brought me back a bunch of memories. Because what happened to me was, at that very first track day, I get there thinking, well, I've been riding street bikes for 25 years. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get to the track. Oh, there's level 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I have to sign up in 1. Sure, I mean, by noon, the instructor's gonna say, dude, go to level 2, you're just too fast, right? I know, right? It just not translate that well, right? Because, I mean, that was my feeling. I've been doing this for 25 years. It can't be that hard, right? It can't be that different. But then, of course, I get there, and then I mentioned here in the first meeting, as we get on the track drive, where we get on trucks and we go around the track, I was like, holy cow, this is actually serious. Can I actually do this? Despite my 25 plus years of riding, can I actually do this? Now, it didn't help me really. It actually gets in my way having this previous experience, because all of my bad habits from street riding translates into taking that to the track. Look at my foot. This is track day number 13 for me. 13 track days, and I'm still doing this. Bad. It's really bad, right? How do I get rid of that? It's not easy. I was seeing pictures from Sunday, which was my track day number 16. There's still that, right? Because in between, I noticed in several pictures from other track days that had been fixed. So I'm like, okay, now I'm not thinking about that anymore, or I think I'm not, because I was paying attention to it, so I was getting better at that. But then eventually I forgot about that and started focusing on other aspects of riding. And then who came back? Duck feet, right? Because I hadn't really internalized muscle memory on that. And then I'm focusing on, okay, the steering rates, hard braking, harder acceleration, on exiting corners. And then I go back to the photos and like, man, that sucks, right? It just didn't translate. So at that point, not good. I was talking, after our first meeting here, I was talking to one of our buddies who's level 3, and he said, it was good that you talked about experience, because the experience that I've had was different. He said when he started riding track days, he had been riding for maybe, I think, like 3 or 4 months. So he got fast really quick on the track because he had no bad habits. So he started from scratch. So this is a non-issue for him. So it's just something that you have to think about. So Yuri, if you want to spend a couple of minutes talking about your experience, that would be awesome.
So first of all, thank you, RideSmart, and thank you, Claudio, for helping. With all the preparation. Checklist was. Sometimes I was thinking like it's overkill, but when I get there and the guys on tech said my chain is too tight, they said it's fine, but I mean you probably wanted more slack. So I had all my tools with me. I had everything, so I just fixed it real quickly.
Right.
And then apart from that, that was the only actually issue that I was like faced into. And so for me, track day was the real eye opener, because I was coming, like, I don't know if you remember from January, but I asked you the same question, like, what if I'm too cool? Can you get me level 2 right away? So yeah, and I took my first like after round robin was easy actually.
Right.
When I took the second one, and I called this shit twice in my suit, and I was like, hey, hold on. And then I started following whatever Clint was saying. Clint was my instructor. And then I realized like I way overestimated myself and my skills. And it took me 4 sessions to start understanding like what I'm doing, how should I do. Only my session number 5, I I did the whole session, and I came back even like 1 or 2 laps earlier than like everybody else because I was so exhausted. My leg muscles were saying me like, if you will lean one more time, you will, we will just fall down. And like at that point I realized, okay, now I'm getting somewhere. But like I'm still like, you're saying level 1 beginner, I'm not even level 1 yet, 0.5, somewhere there. So it's a huge eye opener, and it's a huge experience in a safe environment under instructor supervision and advices to get through the basics of how you should position yourself on the bike, how you should approach the corner, braking, accelerating, entering corner, exit corner. I mean, I've been through the riding course and I watched a bunch of videos, but you cannot really practice that a lot on the street because first of all, we're in Texas, right? And then there are a bunch of the obstacles all around. So here in a safe environment, it's really helping to like speed up your skills on all those cornering stuff. And overall, I mean, it's fun, but it's hard work. Like when like everybody around saying, "Oh yeah, it's fun." Yeah, nobody is saying like, "Yeah, it's fun," but it's a hard work as well. Like by then, at the last session, the session before last, and on the last session. 7 and 8, I had a muscle cramp in my leg, like twice. I had to get out from the track earlier just because I had the muscle cramp on my right leg. And like as soon as I get one, I said like, okay, I need to be in because it's just unsafe to continue. So it's a hard work, but yeah, you gaining a lot from that.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, man.
Thank you for RideSmart, Juan, in your presence, and thank you, Claudio, for. All your checklist and tips from the first meeting. I really created the checklist. Usually I'm not that organized. My wife can confirm that.
Yeah.
But I created those checklists. I think it might be an overkill for someone, but I mean, like even for me, like when I all done this and I was like, what the hell am I doing? Like, why do I even need this? Like Claudio just put this all in my head, and now I'm like just overreaction and all that. But I was really nervous for like 2-3 days before the day, and then when I was preparing, I'm like, I was ticking like all the points, and I think it's still good and helpful thing, and I will keep doing that just because when we came there was not a single thing that like, oh, I forgot something. Like it's all been there, and even more than I needed. I'm glad that I didn't use it, but what if I will have it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
yeah, I mean,
those tips and checklist was pretty useful.
Excellent. Glad to hear that. Yeah, I mean, I'm still doing it. Every time I sign up for a track day, I immediately create a note. So I copy my last checklist, and I create it based off of, okay, am I gonna go to the track in the morning, which is the case of MSRH, because it's like a 45-minute drive for me, or is it like in Creston, where I'm gonna have to like camp out the night before, or maybe if it's in Coda, usually I like going at hotels for Coda, so I have like specific checklists for those occasions, because if I don't need like my camping tent, I'm not gonna put that in my car. It's one less thing that I have to carry. I don't need a bunch of other stuff. If I do, then I have a box with all my camping gear. And it's just the peace of mind, right? The headspace. Essentially, I wanna focus on my riding. That's what I wanna get busy with. I don't wanna get concerned about, have I remembered to bring this thing or that thing or that thing? I don't wanna be busy with that. So glad to hear that those things helped out. All right, cool. Oh, shame. Working on that, man, working on that. All right, so continue on with my memoirs of a beginner, the road to intermediate, because that's another question that always comes up, right? Oh, okay, I've been in level 1, what does it take to go up a level? What do the instructors look at? How do we improve? Well, of course, Juan is here to answer that kind of question. I'll keep telling you my story, the lessons learned on each track day, because I keep like a track day log. So every time I come out of my track days, I have a bunch of notes, and I review everything, and I write down the things. People ask me, why 3-lap rider? Number 3, because it's something that I focus on. It's like, okay, what are 3 laps that I remember that I did really well, that I felt well on that track day? Oh, it was the lap on session 5 and 3 and 2 because of this, that, and the other. Who are 3 people that I've met that I didn't know before? What are 3 things that I actually learned at that track day? I keep track of all of that, because when I'm putting together material to talk to you guys, I go back to these notes, because I don't want to just take those things for granted, because eventually I will forget that I didn't know those things, which are questions that you guys might have, right? So how did we get here? So in January last year, I signed up for my first track day, did lots of research. The main thing that I've researched on, how not to be a track day newbie, right? Because the things that you need to prepare for as far as what you have to take to the track, that's one thing, it's easy to find. But how can you find the things that you should not do? Because like, dude, that's just lame. Don't do that. So I did a lot of research in that regards. I have the results of that research all stored. If at any point you guys want to check out, it's kind of fun, but it did help me. Like, and for one thing, like the whole do not forget the keys to your bike. That's like the #1 thing that showed up in a bunch of lists. Just don't forget the key to your bike, you know, because that would be ouch. Shared a lot of that information with you guys here in January of this year. So I go to my first track day. I'm riding dirt bike style, right? Bike leaning to one side, my body to the other, going like this on the corners, right? But, you know, still, I had a blast. It was amazing. Just awesome experience. But you guys might remember, what was my biggest failure at that very first track day? You guys remember that? The guys who were here before, I know you guys were not here. Bill was here. You were here.
I don't remember.
You guys don't remember? The one thing I did wrong, or I didn't do, was that I didn't memorize the track beforehand. So I did all this research, how not to be a noob at the track, what things I should remember to bring, what things I don't have to bring. I did all of that. And then I get to the track, oh, very cool, I'm going to ride the track. Okay, I don't know if I'm going right or left. Oh, after this ride, is this like a sharp right or like an open radius? I don't know. So the very first like half of the day, I was lost on the track. It was ridiculous because I would come out of like corners and just hear bikes like buzzing by me. I felt powerless, right? Because I couldn't like speed up because I didn't know where I was going. If I was going right or left. That drove me insane, right? I said, okay, that's the one thing I wrote down. I said, for the next one, you have to improve on that, dude. Because it took me most of the day just memorizing the track, which was terrible. So in March, the next track day would be at Coda. And I thought, who, me? Coda? Where the big guys, right? Now, who am I to go ride at Coda? That's ridiculous. After my first experience where I figured out that I'm not that great at track day, track riding, who am I to ride there? So I skipped that. Because in my head, I shared this with you guys in January, I thought, I will only go ride Coda when I'm in level 3. Because then I guess I'm going to be very confident on my riding to be able to ride at such a track. Right? Because that thing is for real. Right? That was my thought at the time, and I was wrong. I'm going to share that in a little bit. In April, there was a track day in Crescent, which I mentioned in the last meeting, where I did all my homework on memorizing the track. I got videos from other riders. I got the track map. I did screenshots of the aerial view and the view from the rider's camera to just cross-check things. I went nuts on that. I got on the bike and let my iPad play the videos so I could follow and memorize the thing. I did the whole shebang. Got ready to camp out because that was something I had never done in my life, right? So, okay, what do I need to camp out at a track? I don't know. So I prepared for all that, streamlined my preparation for a track day. What do I need to pack in order to take it there? But then what happened? Do you guys remember what happened?
You went to a different track.
No. It rained really, really, really bad, right? Like there was a fire from a lightning bolt that struck. I don't know what the heck that thing was. It was some factory or whatever, but there was just no way to ride. It was deemed like, you know, you couldn't ride because it was dangerous, essentially. So that got canceled. I drove 4 hours from here to there and it got canceled. But still, I kept a very cool mind about it because I've learned a whole lot. I've learned about the track. I've learned the names of the stupid corners because it was something that drove me nuts on my first track day where the instructors were saying, well, you go down Sugar Hill and then there's the gut check and there's the launch. And what is that? I don't know those names. I was lost, right? Here this time around, I knew the names of every stupid corner there was on the track. So I did all that preparation. I've learned about a whole bunch of stuff. I didn't get to ride there, but still I've learned a whole lot, right? So I still got a lot out of it. We did a little bit of jumping time and jumped to my experience in June, which was my first experience riding on the wet, right? And talked about and showed videos as to how the bikes were like moving about the track. So we talked about that. And then we did another jump to October when I finally went back to Crescent that has a very cool section called the Rattlesnake. And I actually almost got to ride the Rattlesnake. You guys probably remember that. That was an interesting experience. I have that on video if you guys want to check that out later. So we did this jump. Now let's go back. Because remember, I've had my first track day in February. And then 3 months had gone by for my second one. So I was dying. I was itching. My wife couldn't bear with me anymore because I want to ride. Right? And finally, the day came when I was gonna go back to the track. Not only for one day, but it was a Saturday, Sunday thing. So that was another thing. Can I actually do it? Am I fit enough to actually endure 2 days, 2 full days of, track riding? I don't know. I have to figure that out, right? But I'll try it. And that was at the TWS. Texas World Speedway, where I didn't even know what that was. Remember, I was not born here, so I hadn't heard of it before, so I do some research and it's like, man, it's such a historical track. That's gonna be pretty cool. Of course, later I discovered that it's not just historical, it was prehistorical, right? Because it was already like a ghost track, unfortunately, not being maintained and all that.
They closed it now, right?
Yeah. It's been closed for a while. They've used to just put the cars from Harvey, the flooded cars from Harvey were there. It's a shame, right? But still, I get there and I see this big sign. It's like, oh man, it was still pretty cool, being there. And just having a photo taken like that, oh man, that's pretty cool. That's kind of neat, right? And by the way, notice one thing that changed from my first track day. Juan said, man, that looks ugly, right? That's how I was doing the first track day, and then for the second one, it got a little better, right? Because my wife was like, dude, no, you have to make that better. All right, I'll do it, right? But anyways, so I got to actually learn the track, again, because that's something that I've learned from the previous one. Get the track map. Look at what, how do they talk about the corners? Here it's by numbers. Turn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let me memorize all of those. It's the back straight, the front straight. Memorize it. Get it in your head. That's what I did. And then I found out there was a Node Need for Speed Xbox game that had that track layout. I said, I'll play the game, right? Because when you just watch somebody else's video, you're not committed to it. You're not turning right, you're not turning left. With a video game, you are, right? And it's funny because it's like, you get the pretty ladies and, all the bells and whistles, right? And it's like, oh man, if that's what TWS looks like, it's pretty awesome.
People sitting in the stands.
Right, yeah. Right? So like, man, that's pretty cool. I'm gonna feel like a rock star over there, right? But I mean, doing this, and the game actually shows somewhat of a line, right? Which is very close to the line that we actually used riding out there. So allow me to memorize, okay, here you go right. And then you're gonna have another right into turn 4. And then next one is gonna be a left on turn 5, and then left on turn 6, and so on and so forth. Quan is like, that does not look like the track.
I've never seen this before.
What's that?
I've never seen this before.
Really?
That is cool.
Right? It is pretty cool. Of course, you get there, you don't have the billboards or anything like that, but it's the track. It's exactly the same track map.
It is, actually. That's like super accurate. How
It
fast
is.
it
With the elevation and everything.
With the elevation changes and everything.
Even the tar snakes.
Right? So I did that. That was pretty cool. Right? But then, of course, I didn't stop there. Of course not. I found this other video, which is like a drone, some drone footage.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it's like, oh, that's how it looks like. That's what it looks like right now. But that video was pretty awesome, right? Because it is on YouTube, of course. I just downloaded it so that it's better for us to play it here.
Wow.
But it's the whole thing. So I kept watching this to actually see the track, right?
Yeah.
I saw the whole thing there. And it follows it like the whole enchilada. And this one has the tar snakes all there, right? That one I could relate to when I was there, right? Because seeing it like this, like, okay, this is what I'm going to encounter. Now I know you. I know you turn 3, right? So did that. That's also pretty cool. I recommend you guys check out this video later on YouTube. Just look for TWS by drone or something like that. So did that. What else did I do? Video from other riders. I found this one from level 2. I thought, okay, level 2 is going to be a little bit faster than how I'm going to be riding, but I like this one because I could see the kind of speed that the guy's taking, just to have a general idea, but also the track map. So I've learned, okay, whenever I'm here on turn 3, this is what it looks like. I can look for that candy stripe, right? And I can like look for some marks, reference marks, that maybe they're not going to be there by the time I ride, but at least I'm going to know what it looks like, right? And sometimes I get my head already in that situation. Not happy with that, I've put them all together like this, where I could see from above and from 2 different angles what it looked like getting back into that main straight. And then of course here with the track map. Because when you're in class, the instructors are pointing to something like this. So how do you go from, oh yeah, that turn, what does that actually look like? Well, it looks sort of like this when you're riding, right? So that way I could actually relate and follow the instructions. Because on my first track day, I was like, by the time the guy says Diamond's Edge, I'm like, I don't know where that is. Points it at the track map, I don't know where that is. Show me on the video, something like this, where I can, oh, okay, yeah, there's a tower there that I can use as a reference marker. Something, give me something, man, right? So I got very, very specific about all of that. So I've learned, when I actually got there and rode the track, it seemed like I had been there before already. It's like, oh, I already know you. I know where the turns go, right? So we do round robin, I do just fine, and then we go first free session. I have an instructor following me, and he's like, man, your line here is pretty good. You've never been here. I said, no, video game, dude, and plus some other little tips and tricks, right? Helped a lot, right? Just not having that, I don't know where I am. You feel hopeless at a track where you don't know where you're going.
So this is really critical, and I'm like totally agree with like everything that the instructor was saying. Like you have to learn your line before you do anything else. If you like if you still kind of confusing which turn is going, doesn't matter how good is your body position, but if you're on the other side of the, like, you know, you should be on that, doing the right turn, but like you're on the right side, like, it doesn't matter how good your body position, you have to slow down.
Yeah.
So this is critical thing, to know the lines and to remember the track, that's for sure.
Good deal. All right, so next, my first time camping. I don't know if you guys remember what I told you about Crescent in March last year, when I went out there the night before, said, okay, let me look at the area, see if we are going to be camping out here. And then I saw the sky going like, I said, I'm not going to camp out here. There was one guy with one tent there. Like, this guy is brave or crazy, I don't know. Next day in the morning, I mean, his tent was like flat down. Like, I'm not doing that, right? But anyway, something new that you're going to be doing at that track day, if there's any way for you to practice beforehand, do it, so that you don't get any nasty surprises out there. So for instance, what did I do? We got the tent, we figure out how to assemble that thing back home, right? Because we get out to the track, it may be dark, you may not be able to see things clear, you may not have something to light things up. Do it beforehand. Remove that surprise factor out of the equation. Because if you get there, and you may get trouble with other things, like there's a problem with your bike, maybe the chain slack that you have to adjust, that's just one less thing that you have to worry about. So anything you're gonna try out different, practice back home. Oh, you're gonna try a new set of ladders? Do it home. Put full ladders on, go to the garage, get on the bike, like stretch it, get it adjusted to your body. You don't wanna figure out when you get to the track, you go out and it's like, man, this thing does not feel comfortable. Didn't break in yet. Well, you should have done that before you actually get to the track, right? So anything different you're gonna do, any kind of gear different that you're gonna try out, do it beforehand, right? So we do all that, we prepare the car, load the bike on the support, do the thing on top of it to carry a bunch of stuff, because the family was going with me, so the 4 of us going out there to camp, everybody was excited. We go there was this option to actually camp in the paddock area, in the garage area for the night, so that's what we did, and it was pretty cool, you know, having the bike so close to the tent. I was, oh, my baby! And my wife was like, what? Like, come on! So that was a very neat experience. If you've never done anything like that before, it's kind of cool, you know, camping out at the track, seeing the bikes, you know, everybody, you know, getting there, you know, getting together, you know, exchanging experiences and all that. It's kind of fun. People go with kids and all. That's also when I started to analyze photos. That was the first time I started grabbing photos of myself, you know, because you keep looking for like photos of good body position. Like those guys, look at the mean lean angle of that guy or this one, like dragging me and stuff. Point being that, you know, I started looking at my own pictures to see, okay, what am I doing wrong? Right, so here in my second one, I started seeing, okay, now I seem to be moving a little bit more to the inside of the turn, but look at the stupid foot again, right? Still not looking that great. Getting better, but there's a lot of work to do there. But on other ones, like, okay, if you draw that line, okay, I'm better on the inside, you know, but at the foot, right? Man, so close and yet so far away, right? Well, like here, this is a little better, and then you compare yourself to other riders, right? Like this one has a more like old school style where he's kind of crossed up, right? But I started paying more attention to that. Prior to actually doing it myself, I would see pictures and stuff like that, man, I don't know, it all looks good. But then you start paying attention to those things. And then a friend of mine sent me a photo of himself on the very same corner. He was there the same weekend, very same corner, and I was like, holy cow, I have a lot to work on, right? Looking at it, let me use the thing here, right? You can see my full body over here. Look at how he's doing. It's not just the lean angle, but I mean, you cannot see his body there. You barely see, you know, elbow and knees, right? Like, okay, I have something to go by. It's good. So nowadays, every time, you know, Blair puts up the photos from the track day, I always go through everybody's photos pretty much and draw some comparisons between myself and people who have a much better body position than I do, and people who are still working on it. So I can sort of like picture myself, okay, where have I been? Where am I right now? Where do I need to be as I keep practicing, right? Because then a couple of track days later, so that was track day number 1, right? This was number 2. This was number 5, right? So on track day number 5, I was already looking a lot more like my buddy here, right? Where you cannot see my body there. So like the shape of the body there looks much better. You see my arm relaxed on the tank. That's something that took me a while to actually get used to it. As you're leaning over, to not be like, oh, no, you just relax, man. You could even like raise your hand. You don't need, like on a right turn, you don't need that hand. So just relax, right? So just getting my mind to think that way, right? Because you're like, oh, like, So you start seeing some video footage from me where I have my camera set on the tail, where you see me like a little bit like tense, and then eventually I realize, like, you can see me like realizing. So I'm thinking about that. I'm not thinking about my feet, my speed, or anything like that. I'm thinking about my body on the bike, right? So that kind of stuff. And then there was a, wait, what was that moment for me at TWS, right? So I'm going there, and then I got this thing from Keith Coates' book, I think the first one, Twist of the Wrist, where he talks about how, of course, you shouldn't ride over your head. You should ride within like 70% of your abilities all the time. You have to be able to see what you are doing, think about what you are doing, so that if it's not working, the next time you go out, you can try something slightly different, know what you did different, and then evaluate to see if that worked. If you're riding way over your head, you're not going to be able to know exactly, well, I just went wide on a turn. Why? I don't know. Well, you don't know what you're doing? No. Right? So I'm coming here, right? I'm on this straight, and I'm thinking, okay, all right, I need to think about braking, finding my turning point, moving my body over, you know, pushing elbow out, relaxing my left arm on the tank. So I'm doing all of that. And it's cool because I'm actually thinking, okay, I'm coming at a certain, you know, a decent speed that's comfortable for my pace, and I'm seeing myself doing all of that, moving and feeling my whole body, how my feet are moving and all of that. So that's all great. Now let me show you the video from that. What was that? What happened there? Right? That completely threw me off. Right? So I'm going there. It was so unsettling, right? Because I'm going, again, I have full control of everything that's happening. And then I hear this. My first reaction was, oh crap, something come loose underneath the bike. Immediate reaction. As you do this in a carousel like that, you're going to go wide. That's what happened. I'm like, oh, holy cow. And then it took me like 2 seconds to think, okay, I'm just scraping parts. That's what happened. Then I immediately worked my way back. But then later I thought, oh, that could have been really ugly if somebody was trying to pass me on the outside, which normally happens on carousels like that, right? I'm going like this. The guy is trying to come this way, and then I stand the bike upright, and ooh, that would be ugly, right? But anyways, and then later, I saw this video because Randy was following me on this session earlier. So this is me here, right? And it's not like even I was leaning over that bad. Like, see? Let's put it over there again. Right there. I'm already upright. Right? But it was something that it unsettled me really bad on that session. Right? And here's some zooming. And then comes back. Right? So that was something that happened there that I was definitely not expecting at that point. And then that messed me up for that whole weekend. Because now every time I was going to go on a right turn, I didn't think about it on the left turns. But on right turns, because I had that in my head, okay, am I going too far? Am I going to scrap things? Right? And it drives me nuts because I think, okay, what if I lean too much on the peg and it pivots my rear and I lose traction? That's going to be nasty. So I always have that in my head, even today, right? Even today, right? Because it's low. My pegs are too low on my bike, and I cannot find a rear set where I can move it up because my bike is an old bike, so I cannot find the parts. So it's something that every time, every turn, I've been not leaning as far because I have that in my head.
Oh, that's your excuse.
Right? Was another lesson learned from this thing here is do not change many things at once. Since I was gonna be there for the weekend, and everybody talks about, oh yeah, you know, have you had your suspension set? Have you done your sag adjustment? I'm like, what the hell is that? I don't know. not mechanically savvy. I don't understand any of those things. I barely know how to get on the bike and ride, right? I'm very bad at everything else. So at that weekend, I thought, okay, I'm gonna ride Saturday with my bike as is, and then on Sunday morning, I'm gonna take my bike to Roger, our suspension guy at the track, to have it, the sag adjustment. It takes all your measurements and sets up your suspension. I'm gonna do that, right? And he did that. He has a little, file that he keeps with all your numbers and stuff. So should you work with him again at the next track day, he has some reference numbers to go by. So I did that, and I've also changed tire pressures. On Saturday, I was running 32, which was a standard that most people said, well, that for your pace and everything, that's gonna work for you. Next day, I asked the tire guy at the track at the time, and he said, well, you can run, I think it was 30 on the front and 28 on the rear. Okay, let me try that. But I changed those two things and went out to the track. Well, for one thing, doing round robin with 28 pounds on my rear tire on that front straight like banked like that, not comfortable, right? Because round robin 40 miles an hour on that thing, right? And you feel the bike like going like this, and it was very bumpy, not comfortable. And riding around the track during that day, I felt the rear very squishy, like the rear like moving underneath me, not comfortable, right? But then at that point I was like, I don't know what is doing that. And it was also windy that day. So I'm like, it's windy, 28 on the rear tire, and the suspension adjustment. What's causing that? I didn't know, right? So anytime you're gonna be like trying something different, try one thing different, go out, see how it feels, make your notes. Then you change another thing. Don't change more than one thing at once, because then you're never gonna know, okay, what is the thing that's actually causing this behavior? Oh, it's the rear that's sliding. It's I'm not able to turn into the corners as I thought I would be able to. Right, one thing at a time. So that's something I've learned there. There's always something to learn, always. So that weekend, when I went out to the track for the very last session on Sunday, my family took care of everything. They've, got the tents and all the stuff, packed in the car, everything. They were waiting for me to just come out of the track and then load the bike on the car. And then I have a video for that too.
Yeah, I dropped my bike. The first thing I did when I was trying to get it off the trailer, I dropped it inside the trailer. And it landed right on my hand, and my hand is still swollen a little bit, and it's in pain. And I was like, thank God I didn't broke it just before I, first strike there.
Yeah.
So you really need to be careful when you loading, offloading. Yeah, that's for sure.
Absolutely, right. And I cannot stress enough how valuable it was to me on my first several track days, where I always had my family with me. At the very least, my wife had been with me for at least like 10 or 12 track days. Only the last few ones she wasn't able to make it, but she was there. And she was the one like helping me remember a bunch of stuff, taking care of the little things, where as I was busy thinking, okay, what part of my writing am I going to be working on right now? That could be my focus, because she was taking care of the other stuff. As we were doing that, I was taking notes and streamlining everything. Now I can do the whole shebang by myself, right? I can load my bike, I can put the bike support, load my bike, pack everything, remember to disassemble things during lunch break and whatever. I got everything under control, but because I was helped beforehand, I managed to streamline the process. So here, again, my second track day, it was the first time, or actually no, the second time we had the bike support. So they're there waiting for me, just.
You got right out of the porta potty, right onto the bike. Right?
That's right. Isn't that awesome?
You watch that one Rossi race right today,
Right, so
you're aiming for that orange flag, right?
that's right. And I'm saying, okay, the ramp, it's not lined up. No, move a little bit more to the left, to the right? and they're all playing along, right? So we have my 13-year-old in the car, the 21-year-old, my wife is shooting the video,
Good grief.
right? And then they're doing that. Can you see anything wrong with this picture? What did I learn from this
Nobody
experience?
on the other side?
No, no. Like I said, I've learned how to do all that load and unload by myself. I can do that safely, no big deal. There's one thing terribly wrong here.
Oh, you said you have to close the back.
Yes. Right, so 4 people looking at that. None of us had figured that one out. So I put the bike in there, like, all right, all set, let's go. Well, wait a minute. How do we close the door now? You dumbasses.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so there's always something that you can learn, right? Never else I did that again, right? But yeah, that was pretty funny. Right? There's always something, and you're never gonna forget that kind of detail. So that was kind of cool. And then that was that track day. Finally, oh, and then what happened on TWS, I was there hanging out with another rider, and then he mentioned about Coda, and I was like, oh yeah, one day I'll do that. And then I told him my goal. I said, one day when I'm a level 3 guy, I'll go there. He was like, dude, you got it all wrong. I said, how so? He said, Coda was my very first track day. That's what actually got me hooked. I'm like, really? Level 1 and everything? Yeah. That's the track that you're going to feel the safest. Because the track is smooth, very few bumps. I mean, it's not bumpless. There are like 2 or 3 spots that are sort of bumpy, at least it was last time I was there. But like the runoff areas that you have, you know, if you have to go out of the track because you came in too hot into a corner, that's fine. You stand the bike upright, you just ride your way out of the track and then back. Not a big deal. You feel a lot safer there. So as the guy explained all this to me, I said, okay, I guess I'll give that a shot. Right? So in July, finally, you know, I signed up. I went there for the weekend because I said I'm gonna do Saturday, Sunday, you know, watching all the videos and doing the whole thing. Video game. Let me play the track on the video game. Get the track map from websites and stuff. Let me do all my previous cursory work to prepare for it. So I'm gonna be talking about my Coda experiences next month. That's gonna be like next month is gonna be my Coda special. So everything I did to prepare for it, how the whole experience is, how is it riding out there. So I'm gonna be talking all about that. I have a lot of information about that. Something I just tried at MSRH this weekend, and it was a last minute idea that I had, that I said, okay, I'm gonna give that a shot. So I end up just having a few riders with me there, but I'm gonna be doing that at more track days. Any track day that I'm gonna be attending, I'm gonna be doing this beyond the track, at the track. Like, oh, how does that work? Well, I've been telling you guys, look, come up with a plan for your track day. Think about the areas of your riding you're going to be working on. Like for instance, I know that I want to work on my steering, right? Because in some tracks I got the feedback that I'm doing like lazy steering, where I'm just steering really slow into a corner, like taking my time, when I can actually wait a little bit longer and then turn sharper. Something you can do that one of the instructors told me, and I said, okay, so I need to work on that. I write that down. I have all the videos from Sunday, I review them, and I see, okay, on this corner, my gear shifting is a little sluggish. I need to work on that. So that's going to be part of my track, my plans for my next track day. So what I'm going to be trying to do is to encourage riders to come up with these plans, right? And then we get together at the track, we review each other's plans, right? And we exchange information that way. We go out to the track, we ride, we make notes and say, oh dude, on that Diamond's Edge thing, I just cannot figure out the line without hitting that bump there. What's the best line around it? Exchange information, right? Improve your track time, because you're not going to be riding on the track the whole day. So the time you're not riding, make that productive. Because also, if you do have a plan, there are plenty of instructors down there that can help you out. So if you tell, you walk up to Juan and say, man, I'm really having a hard time on turn whatever, and help you out. If he knows what you're going to be working on, when he follows you, right, and you tell him, this is my plan, all right, let me follow you, let me see what you're doing, and then let's fit in or whatever, and I'll give you guidance. Good. Go back with the group and say, okay, my experiences here, I've worked with the instructor, this is what's going on. Awesome. It's a way to build knowledge and skills together, right? So it's something I tried at MSRH. Like I said, I came up with that idea last minute, so not a lot of people got prepared for it. But one of the riders, her plan was to move up to level 2, and she did, right? So she went with that plan in her head, she wrote it, you know, worked with an instructor, got evaluated, and got bumped up to level 2. So that's pretty cool, right? Good experience there. So that's definitely what I want to do moving forward. So any track day that I'm signed up for, I'm going to post that to the meetup. If you guys are going to be there and you want to try something like that, let's do it. Wrapping up, again, do everything you can off track so that when you're at the track, you are 100% focused on what you are doing there. What's next? Everything Coda related, my prep, tips, writing, learnings, and experiences from Coda. Any feedback you have for tonight's meeting, you know, you can of course give me the feedback here, or if you want to write up on the meetup website, that would be awesome. What's your guys' next track day going to be? Do you have anything lined up? You're thinking about it?
May, MSRH.
May, MSRH?
Yeah,
That
I'm thinking
weekend.
of May of MSRH as well.